Hey, Dabrowski Doberman followers. My name is Diva Denisov, and I wanted to introduce myself to you in person and give you an opportunity to see me, see my face, hear my voice, and know that I am not just a Facebook persona, but I am a real person. I live in Arizona and I breed Dobermans, and it is my passion and it's what I love to do. So I wanted to give you a little update about the upcoming litter that I have planned for September. My bitch Dory is going to be bred to a friend of mine's European import. He is unshown, and I'll have some other videos of my ideologies about why I choose what I choose. Because immediately when you say a dog is not titled, you get the show people who are going to jump in and say, "Oh my God, why would you breed to that?" And you're going to get all the haters. So to all the haters. You might want to turn the video off right now and just save your hate for somebody else, because I don't have the patience for it anymore. So for all the people that do love me and do love my dogs and are appreciative of what I do, I wanted to advise you guys of what's coming up, because I do have several people who've inquired. I've had dozens of inquiries, and I have a waiting list that is building rather deeply at this point for the upcoming litter and for the litter that I have planned in March. So I have two different sires in mind. Remy is the first one that I have in mind. He is 8 years old. He is a seasoned veteran. He is out of what I consider to be, based on I have 11 years of research into pedigrees. And I utilize a database that most people have never even heard of. And I'm able to do pedigree research back 13 generations. And I know everything about my pedigrees. That is my specialty. I also know a lot about genetics. And I was the sponsor, the breed sponsor of a breed study that was done at University of California Veterinary Genetics Labs. That is a breeding tool that was created 4 years ago. Some of you may have heard of a product called Embark, and that is a DNA and disease testing DNA test. I'm not knocking it in any way, shape, or form, because an Embark test will give you a lot of clearances on dominant genetic genes that are dysfunctional genes in the genome of the canine. And specifically, it addresses a few of the diseases that some of us would like to know if our dogs carry these genes for these diseases. It doesn't mean that your dog isn't going to die of that. It doesn't mean that your dog is clear. There is no such thing as clear for DCM. So if any breeder anywhere tells you that their dogs are clear of DCM, avoid them like the plague. They don't know what they're talking about. They have been mentored poorly, if they've been mentored at all. And they simply have lines that they, like me, have spent maybe thousands of dollars obtaining. And of course, they want to breed them. And they want to sell you their puppies for $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, $3,500, because they are champion European lines and they did the Embark test, and they're now claiming that their dogs are clear of such and such. That does not exist. That is a complete fallacy and misnomer. My dogs have not used the Embark test, mainly because I was involved with this other test, which is a DNA test. And I will test all my puppies with this test. And everybody that buys a puppy from me goes home with a UC Davis, what's called VGL certificate, telling them how genetically diverse their puppy is. And it's just a simple piece of data that we as breeders can use in the future to make much more exacting breeding choices. And that's my focus. So anybody who buys a puppy from me buys a puppy from a breeder who's knowledgeable, opinionated, incredibly opinionated, but also knowledgeable. And so my dogs are health tested. My grandparent dogs were health tested, and my puppies you will do your own health testing, of course, when you obtain a puppy from me. But to keep on task here, the litter that's coming up is from a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, who lives about an hour away, very auspicious. She has what is based on my extensive research into European lines, extensive. I spent 11 years doing this. Her lines are considered to be low risk. My lines are considered to be low risk. That does not mean that I will not have puppies that die of DCM. I wish I could say that I won't, but I can't, and nor would I. It is endemic in the breed. And some lines, however, are exceptionally higher risk than others. And I steer away from those lines. So if you happen to be a person who's seeing this video and you're considering my puppies, I don't have enough puppies to go around anyway. So it's not like I can just corner the market and get everybody. But please, if you could do yourself this one favor, you're going to spend $2,000 at least from anybody. Do you want to spend $2,000 on a puppy and find out later that you bought one of the most high risk pedigrees possible? That's what I did. My first Doberman was the most high risk pedigree possible. She was from a kennel called Pride of Russia, and Pride of Russia is to be avoided like the plague. They are terrible, categorically terrible. Betelgeuse. I don't care who that guy is, and he can try to sue me. I don't care. But I have seen his dogs listed as dead dogs more than anybody. I've also seen him in a forum where he told another breeder that I would rather have a dog that is beautiful, that dies at 5, than is ugly, that lives to be 12. Now that is from the owner of Betelgeuse Kennels, people. The owner said that. And he said it like 7 years ago. I was in the forum when it happened. So I've learned a lot, and I've made a lot of made choices impulsively in the beginning and got the lines that I got. I was very fortuitous to get my second dog because I spent 1.5 years researching pedigrees at that time. It was the best investment I ever made because Baba, the boy that is the sire of Dory, which is the dam of the upcoming litter that some of you are on the list for, his mother lived to be 12.5. And yes, some puppies in his litter did die of DCM. It's true. One of them died at 7, and one died of cancer at 8. My boy died tragically of a misdiagnosis from my vet, and I won't even talk about it because I'll just start crying because I've been crying for 4 months because it was so tragic. Now, I don't want someone to feel that I had to feel losing those dogs. I don't want people to buy my puppies, and I don't want to see a video somewhere or a post somewhere like I saw from, his name was Gonzalo Gonzalez, and he had a 6-month-old Betelgeuse puppy, and he fought me tooth and nail in a forum about how great Betelgeuse kennels were. And his puppy died at 6 months of DCM. I have a client who follows me now, and her puppy died at 2 months or 3 months. It was found dead under the table. They'd only had it for a few weeks. I'm sorry, Crystal, to mention him. But I tell you this because I care. And I tell you this because the choices that I'm making in breeding, I'm praying will allow someone to not have to go through that experience that I went through at any sooner than 11 or 12 or 13 years old with your dog. So my hope and my intent in making the choices that I am making for breeding are strictly based on scientific evidence that suggests that breeding to more diverse pedigrees from dogs that don't have extensive multi-levels of line breeding back to the same sires like Fedor Del Nazi and Gino Gomez Satone and Aksamet Granvinko and Tahi Rami Ginity, and I could name dozens and dozens of names in pedigrees. The T litter of Slavnoy Stai out of Russia. My pedigree out of my red bitch was plagued with DCM. Now, she didn't die of DCM. I'm very grateful for that. But she had a zillion health issues. And my husband and I, we had health insurance, thank God. And if you have a Doberman puppy, you better get health insurance, because we spent $20,000 on vet bills for Gemma Rose. She was a Pride of Russia puppy and absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, but oversized. She was 102 pounds when she died. I put her down. She was just 2 months over 10 years, but she'd been suffering with Cushing's disease for about 5 years. And she was blind in one eye. She had an eye removed. She had cataracts. She had juvenile cataracts. She had PHPV. She had uveitis. She had glaucoma. She had so many problems. My male, conversely, Baba, had no health issues until the very end, where he had a bleeding ulcer and ended up being misdiagnosed and dying of a reaction to 2 transfusions. And this just happened 3 months ago. So for those of you that are suffering with the loss of a Doberman puppy, and you're following my page because you think they're so beautiful, and you're researching the different breeders and what's available, kudos to you for doing that. I am not the only one. There's lots of other good breeders out there. But the bigger the name of breeder and the more champions behind them, I'm going to run afoul of a lot of breeders. But in Europe specifically, those big breeders are a guarantee that you have a 60% chance of losing your dog to DCM if it's a male before 7 and if it's a bitch before 9. Those are the facts. The average age in a European pedigree is 8.5 years. The average age in an American pedigree is about 9.5 years. So American pedigrees, believe it or not, have healthier dogs than the European pedigrees, especially those super popular, super beautiful dogs that you see listed everywhere that you're thinking, oh my God, that dog is so beautiful, I want one just like it. Well, 6 puppies out of 10 are going to die of DCM before they're 9. If that's okay with you, then go ahead and buy one. If it's not, consider somebody who's outcrossing, and that's kind of what I'm doing. My focus is European lines mixed with American lines. And going back to European lines, which is what I'm doing now, my Dory is half American, half European. It's actually more like 5/8 European and 3/8 American. But she also has some hobby lines in there, meaning that there's no show lines back there. So she's very diverse. And diversity is important because as a species, it's why we don't have sex with our cousins. It's why we don't do that, because it creates crazy stuff, right? We don't do that. So dogs, we line breed dogs because line breeding is considered a tool to create beautiful dogs and predictability. And we know that's something that's part of dog breeding. We don't frown upon it. It's just how to do it safely. So that's my focus. And that's kind of a little tutorial, little mini tutorial, sideline tutorial that I am giving you here. But bringing me back to my agenda of what's coming up here in September is that I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be doing some videos. I'm going to do a video of the actual breeding. So those of you that are on my waiting list and you've said, oh, I would like to see pictures of the sire, I did post some pictures of the sire. But I don't have any stacked pictures of the sire because the sire isn't a show dog. He's from show lines and he's a beautiful European dog, and he's sired 2 other litters, and he's 8 years old and he's healthy, and he's what's considered a low risk pedigree. And paired to my pedigree, it's really good pairing genetically. I use a tool through a website called Better Bred, and I use a DNA diversity data testing to pair dogs that I like the way they look, I like their pedigree and all those things. And then I want to know genetically, like if I pair those 2 dogs together, what am I going to get? Is it going to be good auspiciously genetically, or is it going to be better than the parents, or is it going to be as good or less than the parents? And so this is going to be a very auspicious breeding. So this upcoming breeding, you'll get to see, you'll get to witness. I will take my camera and do this video, and you'll get to meet Tina, and you'll get to see Remy, and you'll get to see him moving and see what a handsome guy he is. And no, he is a senior citizen. He is 8 years old, so he's kind of thick, but he's a big guy, bred to Dory. And then I will be doing a video, of course, of the ultrasound that I hope to be doing in 30 days. And then, of course, of the birth. So you'll get to be brought along this whole journey, step by step, from why I made the choice and who that pedigree is and why it is, and to the actual breeding. And then I'll show you the ultrasound of your future to be born puppies, hoping that they're in there. And then when they're born, you'll get to see them get born and watch the videos as they grow over the ensuing months until they're ready to go. So I am taking this up a little bit and bringing you into my world where you can see me. You can post questions to me if you choose, and know that I am a real, authentic person with real, authentic ideas and thoughts and beliefs about Doberman breeding. And I am knowledgeable. So that's my little video about me, just an introduction about me and what I'm doing here. I'm sitting here in my little nursery room here, and I have a bathroom over here. There's my little bed so that when the puppies are born, I have a little whelping room in here. I can sleep in here because the first 2 weeks, you kind of got to be really close so nobody gets squished. And it's at least comfortable. And then my next breeding, which will be in March, a dear friend down in Tucson has a beautiful red male. We will only have black puppies. Dory's dominant black. But those puppies will carry a recessive red gene, which means that if you do get a show quality puppy and you are going to breed, then you would know that if you bred your dog to another dog that has a recessive red gene, that you could have both red and black puppies. Now, I will only be having blacks, these next 2 litters. So thank you so much to those of you that do follow my page and that are encouraging to me and that have told me how much you appreciate my videos and that you miss them, that the puppies are not there. I miss them terribly. I cannot tell you how sad I am that this little room right here doesn't have 6 puppies in it anymore. Because this was the greatest thing to see ever in the morning, to get up and come in here in the morning and see those happy little faces. So I cannot wait for the next litter. I can't tell you how excited I am about it. So thank you again, all of you that are on my waiting list. Thank you for those that have entrusted me with your hard-earned resources and your hard-earned trust to buy a puppy from me because something that I said or something about what I said resonated with you. And you chose me. Of all of the breeders that you could have chosen, you chose me. And I consider that a huge honor. I do not take that lightly. And I want you to know that your puppies are always going to be my puppies because I brought them into the world. And so to me, they're grandchildren and they mean so much to me. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for the people that I have on my list for the upcoming litter and for the people of this past litter, how they were so touched by what I do and how I do it, and that they too had lost Dobermans. And they chose me. Out of all of the thousands of breeders that they could have chosen, they chose me. So the fact that you would choose me, I'm honored. And I'm honored to be in a position and grateful to the universe and God above to have this opportunity. I'm 63 years old. September 11th, I will be 63 years old. And I am celebrating 6 decades on the planet. And I started breeding. My very first litter that I ever bred was a litter of Dobermans, and I believe it was 1983. And I had another litter after that. And then I had a Rottweiler in the late 80s, and I had 2 litters of Rottweilers. And then in the 90s, I got Neapolitan Mastiffs. And I had a bitch, and I bred her twice. So in my lifetime, I've had 6 litters of puppies. This is my 7th litter. And I've learned so much every time. But this time, I've done it with really good quality, really good, excellent dogs. And not only are they beautiful to look at, I mean, they can win in a show ring, because obviously Dory has. So has her father. Her father needed 1 more major and a few points to be a grand champion. He had 2 grand champion wins. Dory needs 1 more major if she went into the show ring even a year from now and could get a 4 or 5 point major. She would be a finished AKC champion. I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm not going to waste my money or my time in that world. Have a whole other video. I'll do that. I'll do a video about that and why I don't want to do that. I will show her and I will show my offspring in UKC. So any of you that are thinking of showing, I highly encourage you to look into United Kennel Club and also the International All Breed Kennel Club, which I consider to be the lowest tier of shows. They are the easiest to win, and easy is not a good thing, but easy is building confidence. And so the International All Breed, some people call it IBECA or IABCA, that is the lowest tier of shows. You actually have to win against competition in UKC to get a championship. So UKC is a little bit higher tier, and then AKC is kind of the gold standard, but it's also the most cliquish, and it's also the most kind of nasty in my experience. So I will probably show any puppies that I keep in the UKC world and IABCA world, and fun things like dock diving and lure coursing and agility, barn hunt, stuff like that. But my focus is not to have AKC champions. My focus is to have dogs that hopefully 15 years from now, you will say we're celebrating a 15th birthday or a 16th birthday. I would love to be that breeder that 20 years from now, I have got dogs that I bred that live to be 13, 14, 15 years. That's what I aspire to. That's my aspiration. My aspiration is not to have a top 20 dog. One of the top 20 dogs, lipstick on your teeth. Look at that, Diva. One of the top 20 dogs dropped dead in the ring at 5 years old. Fifi, the top winning dog, had one puppy. She had a singleton in her litter, and he just died. He was 4 years old. What good does it do to spend $300,000, $400,000 on a dog to show them for have your offspring not have any offspring that you can't pass along, and then the offspring you do have just dies of DCM at 4 years old? So I don't get it. I just don't get that anymore. I don't get that. Why would you throw that money away? You could do so much more with that money in the world. Needs so many things. We don't need any more top 20 dogs. I'm sorry. I'm going to make a bunch of enemies in the DPCA world, but you know what? I'm not here to please you. I'm here to please myself. So I'm not going to go that route. That's not my focus. If I do create puppies that can win in the show ring, I'm delighted. I'm delighted that you want to try that. I'm delighted that you want to throw your dog in there, and I hope they win. I really do. It would be awesome. But more importantly, I hope that in 15 years you call me and say, I got to put my 15-year-old down. But they lived a long, healthy life. That's what I'm hoping for. So that's my video for the day, and I hope that you enjoy it or learn something or feel, I don't know, more persuaded either for me or against me. But if you are looking for a puppy and you are looking for a European puppy, I'm going to offer you one piece of advice. Join the group called Doberman DCM, and there's another one called Doberman DCM and more, and spend at least every single day that you go online, go into that group and see who has died. Which of the European lines have died today and how old? Was it a 2-year-old? Was it a 1-year-old? Was it a 3-month-old? Was it a 6-month-old? Was it a 4-year-old? Was it a 6-year-old? Because none of them are showing up in there at 11 or 10 or 12 or 13. No, they're all dying before 6, 7, 8, and 9. And people are heartbroken and devastated all over this world from the amount of Dobermans that are dying of this disease. And it's heartbreaking. And I don't want you, one of my clients, to be one of those people. Now you may, God forbid, but you may. I may be too. I don't know. But I'm hoping to breed away from that as much as I possibly can. And that is my primary focus. Period. The end. All right, I'm going to close now. I'm going to be at 23 minutes and 45 seconds.